The First Testament of Arcanus and Veritas.
Symphonie numéro 1.
Segment sinfonique. D. Tema del segmento: alzarsi, get up. Tonica principale del capitolo: Fa F. Progressione musicale principale del capitolo: ciclo diminuito cromatico minore. Suite sinfonico D. 2. Fantasia, andante sostenuto e curioso, le parole di nessuno, L. Muri contro la libertà.
Compositional form, Chapter Flat 6, Descending. Traditional form, Chapter 5, Sun Stand Still. As the dark veil of the previous vision lifted, Samuel found himself standing on a dusty road, the ancient walls of Gibeon towering before him. The sun beat down upon the land, and the air was thick with the scent of olive trees and the distant bleating of goats.
"Where am I?"
Samuel asked, his voice barely above a whisper as he took in the unfamiliar surroundings.
"Welcome to ancient Gibeon, Samuel,"
a familiar voice replied. Samuel turned to see Arcanus and Veritas standing beside him, their robes fluttering in the warm breeze. Arcanus continued.
"In this reality, what is said becomes what occurs, but the laws of causality remain unchanged. Words have power here, but actions still have consequences."
As he spoke, a distant shout rang out across the land.
Stand still.
The voice was filled with authority, echoing off the walls of Gibeon. Now Veritas, dressed as a heavenly spirit, appeared to be hearing the eternal spirit whisper in his ear, providing him instruction. After hearing the invisible spirit's instruction, and with a very large grin, Veritas shook his head comically in the affirmative, spat in his hands, rubbed them together, and then pulled on a very large lever, labeled Cosmic Emergency Brake, penalty for use without reasonable and sufficient cause, fine, up to 30 pieces of silver. As he pulled the lever, a comically loud sound of the Earth's internal gears halting, echoing throughout the whole of the Earth. Instant, the world seemed to lurch beneath their feet. The sun, which had been climbing steadily in the sky, suddenly ceased its movement. It hung motionless, casting an eerie, unnatural light across the landscape. The Earth, still spinning at over 1,000 miles per hour, shuddered due to the cosmic emergency brake having been engaged. The ground heaved and buckled, and the walls of Gibeon began to crack and crumble. Samuel, Arcanus, and Veritas found themselves thrown to the ground, the earth beneath them convulsing violently. The air was filled with the sound of screams and the thunderous roar of collapsing buildings. The quake itself, the longest ever in the history of the earth, lasted for what Samuel felt was an eternity. For even Arcanus and Veritas found themselves staring at their wrist abacuses, attempting to calculate how long the quake lasted. But to no avail, as the quake would constantly reset them. The quake itself lasted so long the magical spirits became bored, yet any attempt to quell their boredom with card or board games and magic tricks was futile. As the initial quake subsided, Samuel struggled to his feet.
"What's happening?"
he cried, his voice trembling. Arcanus, his face grim, replied,
"The consequences of defying the natural order. Ironically of biblical proportions. But don't worry, shenanigans are considered reasonable and sufficient cause. With the Earth's rotation halted, everything is in chaos. This one event will change the course of history, all to win a single battle. The aftershocks of that one quake will continue to our best guess for many decades.
The trio watched as tsunamis, born from the sudden cessation of the Earth's spin, raced across the oceans, engulfing coastal cities. Towering waves, some reaching heights of hundreds of feet, crashed into the shores, sweeping away everything in their path. The roar of the churning water was deafening, a symphony of destruction that echoed across the globe. Landslides and avalanches reshaped mountains, entire hillsides collapsing as the Earth's crust shifted and buckled. Then Arcanus laughed as he said,
So much for never destroying the Earth in a flood again. But I guess it's not the same thing if it starts with an earthquake.
Boulders the size of houses tumbled down slopes, crushing everything in their wake, while crevasses opened, swallowing whole villages. Supersonic winds scoured the landscape, uprooting ancient forests and turning them into deadly projectiles. The air was filled with the crack and splinter of wood as trees were ripped from the ground, their branches whipping through the air like giant flailing limbs. On the sun-facing side of the Earth, temperatures soared, igniting wildfires that turned vast swaths of land to ash. The heat was unbearable, the air shimmering with the intensity of the unrelenting sun. Plants withered and died, their leaves curling and blackening as the moisture was sucked from them. The dark side plunged into a frigid, seemingly endless night, frost creeping across the ground like a hungry beast. Temperatures plummeted, and the air grew so cold that each breath was a painful, icy knife in the lungs. Lakes and rivers froze solid, entombing the life within them in a glittering, frozen prison. In the days that followed, as the sun remained fixed in the sky, crops withered and died, unable to survive the constant, scorching heat. Fields that had once been lush and green turned to dusty, barren wastelands. The cries of the starving filled the air as food supplies dwindled, and the streets were littered with the bodies of those who had succumbed to hunger and thirst. Societies crumbled as panic set in, and the thin veneer of civilization was stripped away. Wars erupted as nations fought over dwindling resources, the clash of weapons and the screams of the dying mingling with the howling of the relentless winds. Arcanus, his voice heavy with sorrow, spoke,
The damage is catastrophic. Even if the sun were to move again, the Earth would never be the same. The loss of life, the destruction of ecosystems, it's beyond comprehension. The delicate balance that allowed life to flourish has been shattered. Many species will be lost forever, driven to extinction by these sudden and drastic changes. The Earth will bear the scars of this event for eons to come.
Then Arcanus added, with a giggle,
But hey, I guess the Eternal Spirit sees all this damage as collateral damage. After all, it is war, and all's fair in love and war? Am I right? If you think this is bad, you should see what happens to the Earth when the moon was supposedly split into two halves. But to be fair, this was done by the same God that apparently could grow vegetation before the sun was even created.
Samuel did a double take hearing of these ideas and said,
Wait, really, why don't I remember learning this?
Arcanus replied.
These are not the most convenient verses to linger on.
Samuel, his heart heavy with the weight of understanding, looked to his companions.
If this had truly happened, if the sun had stood still, would we even be here today? Would humanity have survived such a cataclysm?
Arcanus met Samuel's gaze, his eyes filled with a deep, ancient sadness.
It's impossible to say for certain, but the odds would have been against us. An event of this magnitude would have pushed life, not just human life, to the very brink of existence. Even if some had survived, the world would be a very different place, and our history would be one of struggle and hardship beyond anything we've ever known.
As the vision began to fade, the sun slowly creeping across the sky once more, Samuel considered the power of words, the importance of understanding, and the devastating consequences of ignoring the immutable laws that governed their world. For if such an event had truly come to pass, the world as he knew it might not exist at all, and the story of humanity could have been cut short before it had even begun.